210 countries, 30 million users, 3 million courses, 1.2 million teachers. You get very blasé about these numbers after a while, but they are pretty amazing sometimes when you stop and think. We've got 500 sites with more than 10,000 users, and it's very global, 75 languages. And we have 54 specialised Moodle partners who provide services around Moodle, and I'll talk a bit more about that later. Moodle is used in all kinds of different environments. When I first started it, I was thinking about universities, and the first people to start using it in schools, I was like, hey, maybe this isn't for schools, but they were using it quite successfully. So about a third of the Moodle users are still in universities, about 13% are in companies. You can sort of see the other numbers there. Not sure about the other, probably pig farming or something like that, we don't really know. These are from those registered sites. We've got some locations of where all the Moodle sites are. And actually there's a nice animation we've got where you can plotting it over time and you can kind of see the spread of the yellow dots. It's fun to see, but you can see things are mostly concentrated where I guess the technology is concentrated. And as Tarkan was talking about the power and connectivity and so on, that's obviously a big factor in any online learning. The USA is obviously the biggest market for e-learning, but look at Spain in there. I mean, that's quite amazing. The community of Moodle users, we interact on Moodle.org, which is a collection of websites. It's running on about 12 different servers. And the processes are that the community are contributing to Moodle via voting and discussion about features. They're coming up with new ideas. We have such a strong internal research sort of focus. We've got so much going on internally that we sort of hardly ever look at other systems that much anymore. We're sort of just building from the inside. People make bug reports and so on. We have a lot of processes that have been developed since the beginning of the project to turn all that activity and all that energy from the community into priorities, into quality open source code that's been reviewed and has gone through a number of people before it finally becomes code, and information. The whole process, the whole project is entirely transparent. Every line of code that gets changed, you can trace who changed it, when they changed it, why they changed it, what discussion it came from, and everything is completely transparent. That's just a screenshot of some Moodle Forums, which we use Moodle itself for most of the community discussion. We eat our own dog food, I think is the phrase. And have done since the beginning. Moodle Docs is, we use the MediaWiki like Wikipedia, and we have thousands of pages of documentation in 20 or 30 languages about every aspect of Moodle. And we use Tracker. This is actually a proprietary software that we use to track all the issues, and we're up to about 21,000 issues where people are discussing and fixing things and voting on things. We have a lot of Moodle conferences around the world. I sort of get to about 5 or 6 a year, but there's one basically every couple of weeks somewhere in the world, and they're very interesting. We're really at the, like these sort of conferences, at the junction between the education, the pedagogy and the communication and the technology, and we're right there in that niche. And it's they're always fascinating. We have quite a strong business model that makes it work. You might think, well, if the software's free, how does something like this work? Well, we have an economic model where, as well as the open source and free discussion and free support going on, there is a commercial aspect where people needing services are able to pay people to do those services, and a proportion of what they earn comes into the main company in the middle, which hires core developers and makes things run. Back to pedagogy for a minute. There's all these users, numbers, blah, 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 blah. in my thesis, my PhD, I was studying how do we make the knowledge that we know from education research, and how do we make that real? How do we create tools that encourage that kind of thinking? And a lot of my early work with Moodle was trying to make that happen, and I felt very strongly about it, and I felt that there was ways to do that. That like a cup is very good at holding water, certain shaped software would encourage certain kinds of behaviour. This is social constructionism. Well, let's have a look at a sort of a progression, if you like, of what I have seen since then, how people have been using Moodle, in fact. The first thing everybody does when they come to online learning is they think, oh, publishing content. Everyone talks about publishing content. You maybe already have some Word documents or some PDFs or some information or some web pages, and you want to put that up as your course. That's the first thing everybody does. It could be SCORM packages, learning objects. Doesn't matter. Effectively, it's just content. It's analogous to a book. It's a very old concept going back thousands of years. Beyond that, you might have a forum. You just say, here's a forum. Okay, guys, you're all in the class, you've read some stuff, here's a forum for you to talk. They rarely work. In online learning, if people don't have to discuss something or aren't encouraged to discuss something, they usually won't. The students don't stick their neck out and have discussions about what they don't know. So it's nice to have that facility, but it's not always effective. A step above that might be to have interactive quizzes and assignments. So now you're actually asking the students to do something. And again, these are concepts everyone's very familiar with going back a long time. Quizzing and assignments, very basic stuff, but at least there's some interaction going on. You're getting them to create and do things, and that improves learning. Improves the chance of learning, perhaps. Beyond that, you can get to wikis. And we have a tool in Moodle called a glossary and a database, which is a way to get everybody to contribute to a structured set of information. A bit like, say, the way Flickr works. Flickr has a structure. They have photo images, and there's a bunch of metadata for each photo, and they're asking everybody to contribute photos, and they do. And you build a common resource of photographs which now everybody can use. And the database module works like that in Moodle too, but it doesn't have to be images. It could be sounds or maps or movies or anything.